So this has popped up quite a bit higher all the way across. And up there, suddenly it is pulled away from the porch part, and you can see all of a sudden pieces are just falling off. And it's so wet, the wood, that the paint is coming off in sheets, not normally how old paint comes off. It's not because it's old, it's because it's wet. And you can see here, this is coming up already higher, suddenly higher. This is pushed up quite a bit higher just in the last, say, 72 hours. These have come up quite a bit higher in the last 48 hours than they were across the board. And they are leaning more. This area, you can see, is getting larger, more pronounced. And it literally just is loose and moves. The bricks quickly disintegrating. This area is far higher than it was just in the last 48 hours. This area is sinking rapidly, getting deeper more quickly. The bricks over there are about to cave in. You can even see here where the window ledge is now not straight. It is tilting to the right. And you can see where the brick is just disintegrating. Area where the brick is just pushed out more every day. Just push that brick up under there. That brick just popped out all on its own. You can also see that the entry slab to the porch is tilted far more than it was to the right and down. The stairs are definitely not level anymore at all. It is just shifting so rapidly. Up here, and you can see how much deeper the pitting is and how rapidly it's happening. It is now completely sunk in here. Cracks everywhere. And this is directly across from the area on the sidewalk. I would just call it ground zero. This is exactly above where the porch is separated because of movement of the house. Because the front part of the porch is separated, the damage here is all, this is within the last 72 hours. This roof on this was perfectly stained, and I noticed a little bit of white, I think the last video I took a week or so ago, but all this, 48 hours. This is around the entryway to the top unit where the bubbling started just about a week and a half ago, and it is getting larger and worse. There's now a crack above the door that's getting larger every day. Cracks are opening up there. So there's where ground zero at the sidewalk is. One of the sinkholes is directly under the middle of the porch, and I'm standing on the top porch because this is where it is no longer even, and it is literally pulled away because of the movement of the house. As it pulled away, it has opened up gaps. These gaps did not exist. This was not filled in. You can tell by the fact that there was no paint in there. It has moved and opened up that much so that any of the little bit of filling was there is now gone. again, this was not here like this 48 hours ago. I believe that's what's causing the damage in the roof of the bottom porch. And if you look at the peeling paint, this is not peeling because of age, even though it's old. Because if I touch the paint, it comes off in sheets because of the moisture content from the water sitting under the home, basically because of the sinkholes. So if I were to touch this, the paint just comes off in a giant sheet, which that's how it did here. It just comes off in a sheet. And that is not how old paint begins to come off. This patio, this top porch, I should say, is tipped at a far greater angle downward. So the porch itself here is actually going down in this area. There has been a lot of movement in 48 hours. And you can see the location of the sinkhole, which is hard to see with the grass. And right above the sinkhole. And for comparison, this is what it did look like before there was movement enough to pull this area out away from the house. This is what it looked like. Now the area that it's moved, this is what it looks like. This is at the entryway to this top story porch. That is a new crack. That was not there 2 days ago. Which is right above the door. In this area, this is the top story. There has been a slight difference, but noticeable, in the angle of the floor going down back towards this area. From here to here. And it's noticeable because now the toilet's at a different angle. Back into this sort of kitchen area. It almost like is meeting. This would be the middle point where it is coming down like this. That has been a change over the last just 48 to 72 hours. I'm in the lower unit where there has been dramatic change in less than 48 hours. So we are directly below where I just filmed upstairs, same exact part of the house. Behind the stove, this corner area and this tile has all suddenly dipped down. The floor in this corner, it was a sudden shift. A sudden shift down. Noticeable to the point where it's hard to walk there, which also occurs in the bathroom area. And there are suddenly tiles popping up and cracking that were not popping up or cracking prior to the last 48 hours. It is this, the whole floor is just moving and moving downward and moving very fast. This ginormous crack, which is hard to see on video, just happened in the last 24 hours. And actually, it goes, hard to see, but it goes actually, well, it's hard to get on video, but it actually goes all the way to up. It actually ends right about there. That was not there. This is new cracking under the archway. This is new. All the way up. Now here's where the big stuff comes in. That is because of water under the paint, evaporating into and under the paint from below. That is what the FEMA building engineer taught me. These have gotten massively huge and cracked open just in the last 48 hours. All of this damage here, staining, cracking, rapid bulging, cracking, changing. That bubbling is all water, and that I saw a few bubbles last week when I took possession, but this massive increase and these cracks, which again are hard to see in video, were not there. That is new. The crack is since last night. This crack was not there. It's now there since last night. And we come up here, this discoloration is all new. 24 hours. This has gotten much, much larger, and it is caving out. It's coming outward is what's happening very rapidly. So severe and sudden changes within the last 48 hours. This has gotten just huge compared to what it was. And it is bulging outward and coming outward. Some bulging there. Over in here, this cracking, new bulging out. So, crack, you can see a little bit better there how far that is, which is on just the opposite side. And that comes out to this door is directly above. The damage on the top porch, which happened suddenly because of movement in the house. There was a tiny bit of white on this maybe a week ago. This has all happened in 48 hours. So it is Tuesday since Saturday. And you can see where the separation is happening, or raising, I should say, where the floor is separating from that beam. 48 hours. You can see how the rest of it did look. There were 0 issues here. And then you can see where we're at compared to all of this damage. There's the sidewalk where it's caving in. We're under the porch, which has been known to be caving in, as where one of the sinkholes is located. And now let's go downstairs and we'll see. As we go downstairs, we can see how much worse this cracking is next to the side of the house, which is the location of the other sinkhole. It is also bulging out and growing rapidly. That crack we've got going, I'm starting to see separation from areas that were not separated. And now as we go downstairs. You can see everything. This is just all separating. That was not like that. And this is downright dangerous. This is the indication that they filled in, again, these bricks with foam and flattened it so that it looked like brick and then painted over it. But they did not use waterproof foam, so it's just coming out of the walls. This step is no longer safe. It's just gonna break any second. And you can see how that's opened up differently and changed. More separation that is there. It's some mold for you. Another area around the door going to the basement we've got going on is here. Rapidly changing, cracking. See where it's about to happen, where it's starting to bulge out. Oh, this is new. Again, that's water. Water evaporation under the paint. And you can also maybe get a better idea of how crooked the stairs are now. They are not level at all. So come down. That whole thing comes down. It's definitely going to cave in very soon. Not level at all. The cracking down in the floor, which started a while ago, is getting worse, of course. This area is all getting worse and worse and worse. These are now cracking. This beam, which hadn't been cracked before. To go back to the speakeasy part, the first thing you can see is the directional shift of the hot water tank and how far it's actually tipped now. It's because of what's going on underground. It is definitely, let's see, all of that's opening up more, disintegrating, of course. There's mold everywhere, but the biggest concern is in here. So in this area, it was raised like mountains around this pole. This pole is one of the center supports for the entire house. And I came down 2 days ago and all of a sudden realized, wait a minute, where'd the hills go? Well, this part is now sunken down. And it is about 3.5 to 4 foot radius. You can actually follow this jagged line, which makes a circle around this. So instead of it now being raised in this area, it is all collapsing under the main support. You can also start to see this type of corrosion and opening up of the ground around the pole, which had not been happening. This pole is directly above the bathroom, where the bathroom and kitchen meet, where the floor has shifted dramatically in just 48 hours. And then we come over here, and the area around this drain had always been level or up to the drain, more like a mountain. Now it's all caving in around that drain. So something is rapidly changing here and is not safe. You can see now how far this wall is bulging out. This wall's bulging out 8 inches. Easy. Also begun remediating the mold, which is an impossible job. So you can see where some of the mold killing agent has been there and where I've sprayed it, but it isn't even working yet. That is all black mold, and it is on near every surface in here. Black mold, black mold, black mold. That is not in part of the basement. That is everywhere in the basement. There is mold on every covering, every pipe, every floor, every piece of wood. And the areas where it's super white is where I've been trying to remediate it, but there is so much. It's just impossible. That mold became everywhere. There was zero mold on this wood when the walls started to collapse, and the mold spores that were trapped inside of the wall on the wood from previous floods and not being remediated, and those mold spores went into the air. That is how they spread to get on everything. You can just see the changes in the walls, everything just kind of falling apart. This mold. All of this is black mold. You can also see that this wall is bulging more than it was. The gaps are larger, but you can't quite see the dirt from the ground because there's so much plaster, which I'm sure the painted plaster has lead in it. It's just disintegrating and falling apart. But again, this was more up and down like little mountains. And as now it's raised here, and then you have a circumference around the main support, which is now sinking or caving in. You can see how much larger the gaps are in this beam, much longer they are. It's all mold. Mold. Being caused from not remediating from a flood, multiple floods. That's all mold. Sometimes it looks white, sometimes it looks gray or green or black. But see, it's all mold. There is mold in every square inch of this basement. Now, as we go into the area under the porch, you can see that there's an even greater sloping downward, greater cracking in this area. The floor is definitely up and down. You can see all of the corrosion that's taking place. Actually, in that stove, there's really probably like 5 in the world or something, and it is just corroding. Everything's corroding. This is all far worse than it was. See, the bricks are just falling out, bulging, disintegrating. Let's see how much larger the cracks are, the mold, how much worse. So we are directly under the porch, directly under the massive changes around the door on the first floor, directly across from the sidewalk that is sinking in, and directly below the damage on the top porch. So this is area of sinkhole. I have not touched anything down here. This brick was not here, laying here 2 days ago. You can see as you come around here, the bricks are just exploding out, basically. It used to have a brick there. They're just separating, coming apart. Mortar, the bricks themselves, everything. Mold. They're no longer straight. They're caving in. You can see under the porch, the steps. It's all just coming out. Lastly, to get a sense of the corrosion that has gone on down here, how things just start to disintegrate and fall apart. This was attached to the door. While old, yes, they were old. They looked nothing like this. And this is corroding at a severe rate. Everything. Just everything. Oh, there's more mold. It's a better picture of it. It's the greenish white. And while many of the pipes were old, yes, they were not. Literally, you can see them glistening from the moisture, corroding in real time. Oh, there you go. This is pulled away from the wall. I didn't even notice that. So here's like a beam. And under the beam is now pulled away from the wall. That was flush against the wall. An idea of the mold, the magnitude of the mold is so now we're in the other side of the basement behind the storage area of the bar speakeasy, and it's just continued decimation down here. It's the same thing. There's mold in here as well. It is not as bad. I don't know, I guess maybe it is. It's everywhere. But you could see where disintegration is just happening everywhere. And here I can show you, I guess, part of the magnitude of the mold. I remediated, sprayed, got mold cleaner and cleaned only part of this floor. And you can clearly tell what part that is. This is mold. All of this is mold, black mold. can see clearly where the ground has opened up and shifted. That's fresh opening up, much larger. You can tell by the dirt, because when it's been open for a while, it gets stuff in it like that. When it looks like fresh dirt, it just opened up. This is directly behind the liquor storage area of the speakeasy. This has shifted and gotten much higher. We'll see here too where it almost forms like the circle area where it's higher and then it sinks in the middle and then sinks in down to the sides. This area is behind the built-in cabinets, and it is getting messed up too, I guess. I don't know. This hot water tank is also tilted quite a bit more than it was because of what is going on under the ground. And while I have a pilot light, neither boiler works. It was turned on for testing. Because everything's just tipped and messed up. That is the latest update. It is October 17th. There's some new dramatic changes in 48 hours. I have a City of Detroit inspector. I'm waiting for them.